guys, welcome back to Living Solo, Living Well, and I'm Kat. I am a 64-year-old registered nurse. I am semi-retired currently, and I do see patients with my job that I'm at now that's very part-time or very PRN, and I see the same two patients every day for it's usually a month. I work in a hyperbaric oxygen chamber unit of a wound care clinic, and the patients that get the hyperbaric oxygen therapy, it's usually at least 30 days. So it's Monday through Friday. So currently we have two patients, so I see the same two every time I work until they finish with their HBOT therapy. So anyway, I was talking with someone the other day, and we were talking about patients who are lonely, elderly patients or older patients who are in facilities, whether it's a hospital or a nursing home. And the topic is what nursing has taught me about loneliness. And she and I were talking about the patients that are usually without extended family members, and they yearn for somebody. The loneliness that they experience, they're there for the rest of their lives. If it's at a nursing home, they are there until they pass away generally, and they live with loneliness day to day. It's amazing to me, working at different facilities like this, it's amazing seeing the number of patients who don't have family that come to visit them. It blows my mind. And what nursing has taught me about loneliness is that, we all have where we need human connection. And as a nurse, you see that in the patients, but because of your schedule, because of being understaffed, overworked, crazy busy, it's very difficult to spend time with patients. You have to deliver their medications. You have to get them to take their meds. You administer injections. You hook up IVs. There are so many things that we have to do. And we have so many patients that it's difficult to spend one-on-one quality time with these lonely elderly patients. And so what nursing has taught me, some of the things I feel like I have learned to have so much compassion. It literally breaks my heart to see these patients that have nobody that comes in to see them. They are without human contact from their family members or their friends. I've seen patients that have had no visitors for the longest time, and you feel so sad and heartbroken for them that you want to be that person and pay attention to them and listen to them. There are many that can't talk and many that have dementia, and a lot of those, the family members don't come in to see those patients. I feel like maybe the reason is that they think the patient might not remember them, or there's nothing to talk about. It's very depressing to go into a nursing home anyway, in my opinion, because you see so much, you hear a lot of stuff, you hear patients yelling out, and that's hard. So if you have a family member there that's unable to understand you or carry on a conversation or interact, that makes it more difficult for you as the family member. So I could see why there are many that don't come in. And I just feel like that's very heartbreaking. We had a lady that years ago when I was working full time, she was the sweetest thing, and she was a little bit hard of hearing. And so she had a very happy dementia, I guess you could say. She wasn't mean, she was very pleasant. And her family had made a calendar to where everybody, whoever came in, whatever visitors came in, they would sign and say, Bob Smith was here today to see you. So she would know, if she looked at that calendar, she could see that her friend Bob Smith came in to visit her. She may not remember, but at least when she looks at that, she can see that he wrote his name down and came to visit her. So she was the sweetest person. I don't think she really knew that anyone would come in. She didn't really, she didn't have that understanding. Even looking at the calendar, she would look at it and it would be confusing to her because she didn't remember that he came in, or the family members came in. So even looking at it does not always jog their memories. So another thing that nursing has taught me about loneliness is that patients can have family members coming in, but the ones that have dementia, I know somebody specifically I'm thinking of, they are not in a facility, but this person, she has dementia really severely. She can only remember the moment at hand. She can't remember anything behind, further back that occurred before this moment, nor can she project. She does not understand projection. She only knows what she says at this moment, and in the next breath, she'll forget, or she'll deny she said anything, or she'll deny that she was in pain until it hurts again. So to me, the loneliness they experience, there are times that she would, get sundowners in the afternoon, and she would be all worried about she needs to go home. She needs to take her dishes home because these are hers. Even though she's in her house, there's that unease that she's feeling. She's not in her mind, she's not at her house. And so to me, that's another kind of loneliness, because she knows, she has an understanding that there's an issue. She does understand every now and then that she forgets things. So she has said to me many times, when she's asked what my name is, and I've told her, and she says, I'll probably forget it in a minute, or I probably asked you already. I think those are her go-to responses, because she does not remember my name every time I see her, even in the next breath, in the next instance. She does not remember my name, but she is slightly aware that there's an issue, and you can see the confusion on her face when she gets like that. So to me, that's a form of loneliness that I've noticed as a nurse. I've begun to pick up with these people that do have loneliness when they're confused like that, if that makes any sense. So my dog is over there doing her thing, so it might get a little noisy. She's got some toys out. But anyway, that is one of the things. Those are a couple of the examples. The other thing I brought up when I first started talking about this was when I was at my first job, I was bullied. I was bullied at several other jobs as well after that. But what I learned about loneliness as a nurse, that comes into play, because when I was bullied, I felt isolated and I felt alone. I felt there was a loneliness to a degree. And, that's where I said there's a couple different components, a couple different, I don't know how to say it, but it just, to me, it's that I learned about loneliness first from being bullied as a nurse, because, I was doing nothing wrong, but I was treated like doo-doo. And I spent a lot of time in tears, and this was my first nursing job, so I'm surprised I stuck around this long. I wanted to quit, and I was verbally abused. I was manhandled by our nurse. She was our lead nurse, or our charge nurse, and I did file a complaint. I reported it, and nothing was done. So that made me feel like I had no voice. I had no one to turn to. It made me feel very lonely, very alone, and very worried for my job. So that, I know that sounds weird. You wouldn't think of that as something you'd learn as a nurse about loneliness, but I experienced being shunned, I guess you could say. So that made me appreciate just how the patients feel. It's not a true comparison, but it made me feel so lonely that I kind of could put myself in the shoes of the patients where they were lonely. They didn't have anybody to reach out to. They might not have been able to reach out to someone to get some help or try to improve on the loneliness, I guess you could say. So loneliness also taught me that I have learned to listen and to pick up on little clues that patients would, if they were saying something innocent perhaps, but insinuating something without coming out and directly telling you, it made me a better listener. I learned to be a better listener, and I learned to kind of read between the lines, I guess you could say. So I've become very adept at reading between the lines and picking up on what they're not saying. It just helped me to better understand, and like I said, read between the lines to pick up on things that they were having issues with. A lot of times they fear retribution if they say things about nobody listens to me, nobody comes in here, nobody talks to me, nobody helps me with anything, and they fear retribution. So they'll go about talking about it in a very indirect way. They'll be dropping hints or saying random, nothing comes to mind right now, but they'll make random comments, and then you can kind of pick up on what they're trying to say or what they're really feeling. So it has opened up a means of communication or a path to communication with them, just reading between the lines. So I've become, I guess, skilled at having lived in that environment for so long. I have become skilled at picking up on things they're not saying. So I feel like that's a vital skill that a nurse should have, because there are so many things that can go wrong. You have to be in tune to the little subtleties and the little differences. You need to pick up on that. You have to be in tune to be able to pick up on that. So anyway, the things that I've learned from being a nurse about loneliness, I think it's helped me to become a better person overall, because, when I first started working in the nursing field, I started out as a nurse tech at a hospital many years ago. And I saw it was almost like a microcosm of life that you didn't know existed, because you're out there doing your thing. You're not working in that field. I was a massage therapist for 24 years. So I had a different kind of work environment. And so to be in this environment for the very first time, and you see the intricacies and the complexities of that environment, you start learning about things that you didn't have any idea about, I guess you could say. So I've picked up over the years on little signs and things to watch out for. And it is amazing, because you can read people. It's weird. You don't think you can, but you can. And you pick up on, like I said, the little subtleties and the things that are not said. So I feel like, even though it's been a hard road along in my nursing career, because like I said, I've been bullied, I did gain some valuable life experience in understanding the mindset of an elderly person who's in a facility, whether they have dementia or not. It's, they want companionship, they want human interaction. And, as a nurse, I want to provide that, but I'm very limited on time. I was, at the time I was working in that kind of environment. So anyway, I feel like I picked up on some things, and I've learned a lot about loneliness in these patients. So anyway, I just thought I'd get on here and ramble and talk about that. That might not apply to any of you, but I just thought it was interesting because a friend of mine and I were talking about it the other day. So I hope that you guys have a great day, and please comment below if you have any thoughts on loneliness, or if you're a nurse and you've worked with patients like this. What have you learned about it? What have you learned about loneliness working as a nurse? So please comment below, let me know, and I will see you on the next video.